problem preventing you from doing that. It's this thing called the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. Yeah. You see, film financing is such that it requires investors, and you have to become an investor in a film, which in turn requires a huge amount of legal paperwork, which requires a lot of expensive lawyers. Yeah. So, believe me, I'm really grateful you want to donate, or you do want to donate.
There are a lot of sites that do that.
But
it's a lot of small
for Robotech, though, it doesn't work because it opens you up to a massive amount of legal problems if things don't go out. Just to give you an idea, forget Robotech for a second. Let's say I take donations for a film. The film goes out and grosses $100 million. You may say, well, I gave you money to make this film. Well, guess what? You made $100 million. By God, you owe me at least $3.4 million, and guess what? Here's a lawsuit, and now you're stuck in court. Yeah, you see, you're already on the downward spiral. That's why I know what you believe me. I understand your passion. I appreciate it. It's just from a legal standpoint.
Buy merchandise.
Yeah, buy merchandise, and that's the best way. And more importantly, though, folks, you know what? We're going to have an animated feature coming out very soon. There's a great chance for you to buy that, and people are going to watch that. And if that does very well, the sky's the limit, folks. So, great question, by the way, sir. So I'm going to give you.
Actually, I did want to add one small warning, is a lot of those places that try to round up investors to finance small little independent films, a lot of them are actually scams. There was news recently within this last month in which one of the films that actually won like a film festival award was actually being investigated because the film was actually a front for money laundering.
Yeah. It's why the SEC gets involved. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions. Actually, way in the back over here, you in the last row.
Yeah, first off, I wondered if we were ever going to see a remastered or an English adaptation of the original Southern Dimensional Cavalry or Mospita. And the other question I had is, are we ever going to see a continuation of the Shadow Chronicles?
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat your question again, please?
I was wondering if we were ever going to see a continuation on the Shadow Chronicles, and if we're ever going to see an English adaptation or a remastered version of Mospita or Southern Dimensional Cross.
Okay, for specifically Southern Cross and Mospita, we do have digitally remastered versions of those. The most recent versions were released by ADV. They actually did go through the trouble of re-recording English versions for Super Dimension Fortress Macross. However, that was met with mixed responses. I think in general, fans, if they're going to go back to the original Japanese material, they may as well, they actually prefer hearing that in Japanese. And then if they want to hear it in English, they actually prefer the English voice actors with Robotech. So yeah, we're working on trying to get the digitally remastered versions of those available again. In terms of Robotech to Shadow Chronicles, absolutely, that's something we haven't stopped working on. So we haven't announced a release date, nothing of that sort. We're still ways away from that, but that's something we're working on.
In the white and pink.
How long did it take you to get the mold off of the sound thing?
Oh, actually, do you want a little story on that? Okay. When we did some of the restoration for some of the audio back in 2005, we sent it to a specialty place for mastering, and what they did was they did a process called baking a tape. What happens is the tape surface gets goopy from humidity over time, and it will actually adhere to the inside of a tape machine and destroy it. You know, these machines that cost upwards of tens of thousands of dollars. And so what they'll do is they'll bake it to dry out the magnetic coating on the tape, and they'll run it. But what will happen is the magnetic coating will flake off from the baking, and so you can only run it once. And you better get the digitization right, and you hope that the tape doesn't jam while it's going through. And that's how we did the 20th anniversary stuff. Now, with the 24-track stuff, when I tracked down the engineer who had one of the only machines left, he goes, oh, they were baking it that way? And he goes, oh, no, I found a new way to bake it. You can run it up to 12 times before it starts doing that. And so, obviously, we found a guy who knew what he was doing, and we had it baked. he had to bake to dry out the tape. And actually, what the nice thing was, the mold was actually growing on the very outside of the reel. So it was actually only on the lead-in. So once that was cut away, the rest of the tape was fine. So, because it was very tightly wound. And so yeah, we got a really, really good capture from the original tape, so it sounded great. And the guy who was doing this also does stuff like for restoring original masters from Chicago, 70s bands like that, so he was really good at it.
No, If You Leave Me Now is not going to be on the soundtrack. So, all right, over here with the yellow in the back.
Funny thing is that me and Corbett were just talking about how much we love the show. He said like he loves Angels because of the fact that that show was on when he was a kid. But like as teachers, like trying to find new ways to do stuff. Has anybody ever trying to contact you about like educational purposes for this stuff?
There used to be, back in the 1980s, educational materials for schools. I have not been able to track them down yet. We have not gotten any contacts from schools about educational purposes. But I'm trying to find these educational materials and see what they were. They pop up in Harmony Gold Literature when they were promoting the show about how what it said was in the sort of promotional materials of the materials themselves. It said that they're supposed to show how kids can interact with technology. What that meant, I'm not sure. I'm trying to find something. So
giant robots and murderous aliens.
Yes, murderous aliens. I don't know. They had this like, using Robotech characters. There were educational materials. It's in a lot of the original 1985 documents that I've not been able to find those materials. If I can, it'd be really interesting to look at because I want to see what they are. Because Robotech, as we all know, is a
How
kind of an
many of
adult
you want to
show.
hear Rick Hunter say, "And knowing is half the battle"?
I'm running out of prizes here too. Here we go. All right, over here, let's see. We have gotten over here. You, sir, in the white and blue.
For the release of the 3D of the contract that was pretty much
The 20th anniversary wasn't limited stock. It was just that we simply manufactured them in lots of 1,000 at a time. And since we knew that the next soundtrack was coming up, we didn't think it made sense to manufacture 1,000 that close to the next release, and then, make you feel like you bought a, home video, and then we released a better version right after that. Memories, anyone? But so anyway, yeah, we're thinking of 3 CDs. It'll be released all at once in one nice box set. Actually, okay, this actually gives me an opportunity to do a small unscientific poll. Now we're kind of at an awkward number. We now have more material than before. We're now up to 3 CDs. That means we have to go to a giant double jewel case. Have you ever seen how those are? They're big glass like jewel cases. Like the Doors Complete Collection. Would you rather have it packed like that, or would you rather have a big Amaray case so it fits in with your DVD collection? Because we've been weighing both styles. Okay, so you like the old-fashioned CD jewel cases.
All right, but wait, hold on. By show of hands, how many want old-fashioned CD jewel cases? Raise your hand.
Yeah,
that's all matters.
And how many want the other option?
It looks like a wash.
It looks like it's a wash. Yes, exactly. 2 versions to make profit. Greed is good, by the way. God bless Gordon Gekka, who's back.
The website, we'll put the poll on there tomorrow. So check on robotech.com. You can vote there.
All right, over here in the blue.
What about making the CD case green? Making it like, for example, it has the story and stuff in it.
Like out of paper?
Cardboard triple. Like Bonnie Raitt's CD in 92?
We'll put that option in the poll too.
All right, well.
I did
all
like
right.
green like the Hulk.
Not Ang Lee Hulk. So, all right, let's see here. Sir, you're raising your hand right there. Yes.
Okay. What about like the original Japanese series, those masters? Because you mentioned that the Robotech masters were in 60 million weren't done very well. What about the original Japanese? Because masters, didn't you just take those, sort of figure out the edits and then recreate them?
Yeah, that's actually what we did with Robotech Remastered, is
Yeah.
we actually, when I meant 16mm, we were actually going back to the 16mm source from the Japanese material. And actually, this is interesting. The 16mm reels for Macross were in the worst shape. And the reel for the Southern Cross was actually in the best shape, because the reels would get damaged every time the television station ran it. And so Macross was rerun a lot. And so you could tell that the reel for Macross was really used up. Whereas on the other hand, Southern Cross, I guess maybe it was only run once.
Uh-oh, I hear down the line. Uh-oh. All right.
This is just observation, what we saw from restoring that.
Actually, when you remastered the show, they used the original master.
Yeah.
They didn't use the disc that was
I'm actually not sure of that, because we've actually been looking through the Macross TV Masters, and we were actually when we were doing new HD telecine tests, we were actually seeing a lot of run damage. And maybe it was because they were handled worse than the other series. Okay. All right. I'm sorry? Yeah. Uh-huh.
He used low con prints. Those were not used for airing. They were always bolted.
They were always welded?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe what you're saying is very much true. Just from observation, and this is just from actual tests we did, is the prints that we have for Macross actually require more restoration than the other two series. Huh? No, this is very true. The one for Macross is a year older than the other series, or is a year older than Mosspeed and 2 year older than Southern Cross. But I mean, otherwise they're only about a year apart in terms of age. Yeah. Actually, everyone, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, that's actually Andre Alas. He's our former archivist. He actually worked at Harmony Gold back then, and he actually managed sending materials back and forth to Shinker and Carl.
Actually, to the gentleman in the Batman shirt.
Yeah.
I just came like, of the documentary you're speaking of, are you going to document the contributions made by Carl Lasek to get everything to the next step? Because I know you did a lot for Japan to get the series on here. I know about the original that they had with Harmony Gold in the 80s. They wanted the series, when they extended to the 85. Will they be discussing that in the documentary?
There'll be discussions of a lot of what Carl Lasek did, not just with Robotech, but how he came in there, how he made it. You saw some of that, and I'm not sure if you came in late, but you saw some of that in the documentary. There is one interesting story about, though, and I'm not sure if it's going to make it in the documentary, about Carl and Akira, how he got the Akira cells.
Yeah.
No, you don't understand, folks. He actually ordered the Akira cells. And it came in, it ended up on at his Streamline offices, and they unpacked them. There's the cells, it's great. You know what they found? They found there's all this packing material inside the boxes. They go, hey, there's some artwork on here. And guess what they were? They were the backgrounds of Akira. Yes, they used the backgrounds of Akira as the packing material. And so, yes.